welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi, a sleepy Rachel Abassi, and I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Um, I feel terrible. That's what we're doing, live action here. I feel terrible. I just woke up from a nap. I slept for I think 2.5 hours. I've just been feeling really, really bad. Still, ever since the Super Bowl, I haven't been feeling good. And I feel like I know why. I feel like the answer is right in front of me, and yet I ignore it. And that is to get off digital devices. And it drives me crazy. I was talking to my husband last night, and he said, if I had your symptoms, you wouldn't catch me on digital devices. I would be just in my room playing my guitar or something like that. And I thought, there's a solution in that. There's something that that message is telling me. And one is, and you might be thinking this, nobody can say what they would do if they were in the same situation. We already know that. So we'll put that aside. But I feel like there's something for me, some sort of growth or message in that. So I shared it with my psychiatrist this morning, and she said something really interesting to me. She said a lot of interesting stuff today that I wanted to share about. Um, and she asked me to just think about this stuff over the next, I don't know. I think I have 2 weeks now until I'm going to see her again because she's off next week. Um, she said, if something, if he had a stroke and something happened to his hands and he couldn't use his hands, then what would he do? Would he play the guitar? Would he figure out a way to play the guitar? And I thought, yeah. So what she was implying is that my passion exists in the computer. And that is that I want to help other people. And without the internet and not being able to travel, the only other way I could do it is by writing letters. That's the only thing that's left. So that I can think of. If you can find another way, then let me know. Send me an email to rachel@recoverydailypodcast.com. But she said that is where my passion is. My passion is reaching other people and being, engaging with other people, helping other people. His passion is playing the guitar. And just like I have found a way to use the computer by like I'm doing right now, like not looking at the screen, but still using my voice uh to give you the message of my experience, strength, and hope, that he would likely find another way to play the guitar. And why that spoke to me is because there are people who are professional guitar players and have or a professional drum player. I mean, I've heard of a lot of musicians that lose the use of a limb or a couple limbs and they find a way to keep playing. Um, and that I think is similar, yet my story's not as magical. I'm finding a way to keep reaching other people by accommodating my disability. So the problem is that I always say this, the problem is that I'm not blind. And I'm not wishing I was blind, nor am I trying to take away the the credit for people that are blind. Credit was not the right word, but you know what I mean. Um, the thing is, I can use my eyes, but it hurts my head when I use them. And finding that balance of like limiting myself and resting is very difficult for me. And it's like I am my own worst enemy when it comes to this. Um, I did have instances since I talked to her last week where I did feel symptoms coming on and I set a boundary for myself. And I said, nope, no matter how bad you want to do what you're doing, you have to stop because it hurts. It's starting to hurt. And I did, I stopped. But I would say that I only did that a couple times versus all the times that I actually felt myself getting worse and kept doing the thing that was making my symptoms worse. So it's gonna take some practice. It's gonna take some practice, and I need to be gentle with myself. Um, there are some red flags for those of you who have a vestibular disorder. There are some, honestly, this applies to sobriety and stroke recovery also, but there are red flags in recovery that tell me stop, pause, if you want to say that. Stop. You are risking your wellness here. So in sobriety, it would be um, I'm at a happy hour, like back when I was working, I'm at a happy hour with a bunch of people. Everybody's starting to get tanked, and I'm starting to get annoyed by it. That was the red flag for me. Stop. You are at risk. You're at risk for your own wellness. That didn't mean I was going to pick up a drink. It meant that I no longer am happy where I am, so it's time to go home. And I would do that. So with my vestibular disorder, I start feeling what I get is a hot flash. And what I've read is that it's fight or flight. Like my body is telling me you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and your head is about to start hurting. That's what happens for me. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens a lot of times. For example, I don't like to sit still and do nothing. So I always have a little crochet project sitting next to me. Well, I noticed over the past couple weeks that when I'm crocheting, when I'm just sitting and crocheting, I have hot flashes. I have multiple hot flashes and when I like played it through, the hot flashes are happening because my head is hurting. So I decided, as much as I like to crochet, um, I need to take a break from it until I start feeling better. Because if I'm having hot flashes constantly while I'm crocheting, it means that it's not good for me. It's not good for my eyes. Um, Stroke recovery, like all of the things that we are doing for physical therapy, vestibular therapy, there is a certain point, and we often have a pain scale where we're not supposed to do the activity past a rating of 5. Once I reach a 5, then I need to stop. That's my red flag. And that's what I've been dealing with over the past week. So her and I talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about what she called it was proactive coping. She said proactive coping is self-care. And not only is it self-care, it's active self-care. So her and I talk a lot about how self-care to me is laying down, just like I took a nap for 2.5 hours. Like that's self-care. And I get irritated with too much self-care. I get irritated that I'm like sleeping my life away, which when I say that out loud, I'm like, you're lucky you have a life to sleep away. So I understand that. And I think that sometimes I'm I hear myself saying things and I'm like, you need to stop complaining. I'm not gentle with myself. But my psychiatrist was talking about listening to these warning signs the way that I listen to them in sobriety. Um, Self-care is actively participating in something. And I probably can't hear that enough. To have somebody tell me that rest is an activity, rest is proactive coping. Um, she suggested, why don't you sometimes stop before you get to a five? Why don't you sometimes do this proactive coping? I was telling her about this face eye massager that I just got, which I might add is freaking amazing. It has exceeded my expectations. I'll have to tell you what brand it is. I don't have it right now, but I got it on Amazon. It was like 89 dollars and it has like airbags inside the eye mask. It looks like one of those VR headsets, but it has like airbags underneath and they fill up and compress um all like I don't know, strategically in order to press on certain points around your head. It's pretty amazing. It does have a heating element in there, like it's like a heating pad in there, which I don't understand because a headache does not scream heat to me. It screams ice. So I don't get the heating, but you don't have to turn the heat on. And then it also Bluetooths to your phone so that you can play uh meditation music or a movie or whatever you want to do while you have it on your head. So that's a side note. These things are amazing and I'll share with you what they are. But you'll have to stay tuned to find it. Stay tuned tomorrow for what the eye massager is called. Um, so she suggested that don't wait until your head starts hurting to use the eye massage. Like proactive coping is sitting down and doing some of these things before you feel bad. And I would say I don't do that. For the most part, I am constantly doing something until I feel bad. And then I have to go rest. And so she challenged me to start reframing self-care, reframing the purpose of self-care and the timing of self-care. Instead of looking at it as because I'm in pain, I have to go take care of myself. Instead, look at it as I need my medicine. I need my treatment. And I need to participate in that treatment before I feel bad. It's like when I take my Emgality at the end of the month, which is an injection for my daily migraines. I don't wait until I get migraines, although they're freaking coming on big time by the end of the month. But the point is to proactively take the injection so that I don't have to go through the pain. And that is what she was telling me, talking to me about today. The reason why I hesitated, I'm like, wait a minute, I think I just had an epiphany. Let's switch gears. What we started talking about then was about depression and sadness, and which is pretty easy to start feeling when you're having chronic pain. Well, what I told her was, I remember once that she told me, and I tell you all this a lot, I feel like it's a lot, that when we have sadness that needs to be processed, what what she suggested that I do is find a place in my house to sit down. So find a recliner, sit down, put my feet up, and think about, time box it for 10 minutes, sit and think about the thing that's making me sad. Um, let myself feel it. Let myself cry if I need to cry. So one of the things that I have been feeling very, I told her I don't even know what to call it, fearful, sad, hopeless, and all that stuff is the loss of all the things that I can't do. And you all know I've been battling with that for 3.5 years, accepting what I can and can't do, what I can and can't do, and finding new ways to be joyful. I have accepted that my disability is permanent. I have. I feel like I have. Um, but clearly I haven't accepted my limitations. And I talked about this the other day. Um, well, what she said, we started talking about when you sit in your spot, sit in your recliner for 10 minutes and you visit with those feelings, you're visiting with them intentionally. So this is interesting because it reminds me of what her and I were talking about with proactive coping. Because if I don't stop and visit my dark place, you guys know I call it my dark place. If I don't stop and visit my dark place intentionally and process those feelings, then I'm going to accidentally fall into my dark place unintentionally. And I feel like that is what has happened to me. Um, and that is proactive coping. Those feelings are gonna be there, whether I intentionally look at them and process them or I ignore them. They're there. And I know from experience that if I don't visit my dark place and I don't intentionally um, process that stuff, that eventually my dark place gets very, very big and very, very cold. Um, I told her I feel like I am staying busy all day long and pushing my limits all day long because I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding visiting that. And she said that that very much may be true. Um, some of the other stuff we talked about today is is a little sadder, but I'm going to share it with you because that's what I do here. Um, Another thing that I shared with her is when I'm doing one of my hobbies, one of my many hobbies that I've learned how to do in recovery, to replace other things that I used to like to do, or that I still like to do, I just can't. For example, painting, making jewelry from old jewelry, uh, making quilts and stuff like that. When I'm making something and it's done, I have a temporary feeling of satisfaction. But when I package up that thing and I put it in my Etsy closet, which is I'm building inventory for my Etsy shop. When I put it in my Etsy closet, I kind of go like this. This is how I communicated it to my psychiatrist today. I put it in the Etsy closet and I'm like, okay, what's next? And I feel like this sinking. And I said, if I instead didn't put that thing in the Etsy closet and I gifted the thing to somebody, I wouldn't feel the same way. I wouldn't feel so much of a collapse. Um, and I said, there's a lesson there too. Um, and we started talking about me enjoying life for the sake of my life. Um, Doing something for the sake of being alive for me, for the sake of just bringing me joy, seems to be not fulfilling for me. When I help others and I give to others, it motivates me. And she said, think of it as when you're giving to others and you're helping others and it motivates you, this is giving you happiness. By giving to others, you are giving to yourself. Um, she challenged me to start looking at that, the ladder of that process, which is what it's the satisfaction of what it's giving to me, just that part, and see if I might be able to start finding it worthy, finding me worthy of giving to myself independently without getting anybody else involved. It's not that she's discouraging me from helping other people. That's not the point. The point is to find myself worthy of giving to. Um, when I buy myself something on Amazon, I always feel a little guilty for giving to myself. I made some earrings the other day from jewelry. So I took this like nasty looking old early 80s necklace and I took it apart and made some dangly earrings with it. And I made a matching bracelet. And I'll put them on Etsy. You can see them. They're super cute. And those are the things that when I packaged them up, I was like, ooh, okay, what do I do next? Why don't I, instead of packaging them up for Etsy, why don't I put them in my jewelry box and wear them? Because I liked them. It's like I can't do that. I have decided that whatever hobbies I take part in, I'm going to put them on my Etsy shop. And that was because there's lots of things that I'm doing that I don't necessarily want. Like I've been making these stone bowls and they're awesome, but I don't have anywhere for them, but I enjoy making them. So that's why I have the Etsy shop. But there are some things that I make that I do like. Why don't I keep them? It's not like, it's like I can't do anything halfway, you know? It's like either everything goes to Etsy or nothing goes to Etsy. And flexibility is not my tr strong suit. And I think that's also what seems to be happening with my vestibular disorder. It's like when I make a decision that I'm going to do something, there is no flexibility in that. I'm going to do the whole thing. Um, it's like a great example is me recording my podcast every single day because there's no flexibility. I mean, there are days, probably, I don't know how often it is that I miss one, maybe once a month. It's been more than it used to be because I'm trying to be more um self-aware and being like you don't need to do it, Rachel. The world is not going to crumble if you don't record your podcast. But in the same light, I'm like, there are people who have reached out to me and said that I'm a part of their morning routine. And if I don't show up, what are they going to do? Because we're friends now. I do feel that way. I feel like we're friends, and I'm not showing up for you. So there's a lot of like, I beat myself up a lot. All of this is an example of just my constant daily chatter. It doesn't quiet down. And that's maybe why I'm so good at running my mouth for a half an hour podcast episode. I don't know. So, I think what the takeaway is for me today is see if I can start appreciating the joy that something brings me. Appreciate what I'm giving to myself, apart from giving to others. And what is that? What are the things that I appreciate doing for myself? And again, I'm not discouraging from doing things for others because that's really where my passion is. It really is where my passion is. Even when I was working, um, I was so passionate about being a people leader, being a director, that I found a lot of joy in when my staff or quite often other people's staff would come in and shut the door to my office and we would talk and they would find um, m- conversation with me very helpful. I found a lot of joy in that. I also found a lot of joy in the creativity part of being a marketing director. And now that I'm not working anymore, it's like these values that I have, and I've talked a lot about values in the past. These values that I have, the creativity and the helping others, just start peeking their heads above the surface of my life. And they're like, here we are. Let's find a way to have fun again. So that's what's happening. I told my psychiatrist today that just going to her and being able to talk is, although I don't feel like I have all the answers and that we aren't just, you know, turning things over and seeing what's underneath and figuring it all out right away. Just talking about it in private is helping me. I don't feel alone. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful that I have the courage to seek professional help when I find that I'm still sinking no matter what I have done, no matter what support group I'm a part of. So I think that's important also to message out today is there's a lot of strength in seeking professional help. And even when you don't know what you're going to talk about, like today, I didn't know what I was going to talk about with her, but it just came out. And it's not going to come out unless I sit down and look at it. Just like if unless I visit my dark place intentionally, I'm gonna end up, walking through my life and I'm just gonna fall in to my dark place. And that's what happened with my alcoholism. And I don't want it to happen now, because I know that I'm capable of being happy and I'm capable of being serene. And ever since I felt that, I'm chasing it the way that I used to chase alcohol. Now I chase serenity in my life. So thanks for listening today. Again, welcome all of you newcomers. I'm so happy to have you, and I will talk to you tomorrow.